Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Ecosystem is another card game that's kind of in the nature element. There were a lot of these released in a short period of time. There's a lot of these released that kind of play the same. You had Eco, I think Cascadia, you had Habitats, and they all pretty much were draft some cards, put the animals down, and based on where the animals are, you're going to score points. And I think Ecosystem is one of the weakest ones of the three. I think so. It does come in a small box. The artwork is beautiful. I don't have any problem with that. I think the mechanism of the game is fine, but the scoring is fairly complicated. There's a lot of scoring in this game. It's not printed on the cards whatsoever, which is a plus because the artwork is so beautiful. But it's a negative because I can't quickly teach the game, and I can't quickly say, read your card. You know, if you forget how something scores and you don't want to ask me because, you know, you want to keep things hidden, well, you can't just look at the cards. It's a huge mess. I think it's a huge miss on this game that the aspect of it, of learning how to score this game, is just, there's a huge dump that you have to do in this game to get it into your mind and kind of keep it all in. And the scoring can be kind of convoluted, and all is going to happen at the end. And I don't like that aspect of it. The drafting is fine. The animals and how they sit together, it's not always the most intuitive either. And it just became a lot of work to sit down and learn to play this game and to play it. On top of it, there are choices. Like, I think maybe Cascadia, although it's very different how you get cards. I understand that. And some people can pick me apart for that. I feel like it's just a better game. And I kind of like this one better than Habitats, I think. But the lack of that scoring being on the cards was a huge miss for me. Now, the drafting in this game is something that we have seen before. I take a card, I pass on my left, the person on the right gives me cards. What you're doing is setting up a grid so I can place my cards out into the grid wherever I like, but they're stuck there, right? In this grid that I'm going to be building. And then the relation of the cards to each other are going to score points for me. All that is fine. It's forgettable. It's been done before. It's been done recently before. And nothing really stands out that, like, man, I gotta play this game again. Although, if you're looking for a drafting game, you want a small box, you want a small card set with beautiful artwork, and you like the animal motif on it, then this, you know, is just as good as any of them, I suppose. It just came out later than those. For me, it's going to be a Purge. Here is Ecosystem, very small box. You can see very, very portable, which was one of the things that was very attractive to me when I was getting this game. You're going to open it up, and you're going to see it's going to get a bunch of cards. These are very small cards, and they're a little hard to shuffle, to be honest, because of their size. And the pictures on them are actually quite beautiful, although they do repeat quite a bit. But you can see they fill up the entire card. There's no icons. You don't need any numbers, just picture of different animals, etc. But these are kind of tough, I'll be honest with you. They're kind of tough to shuffle, and you're not going to be able to do a ruffle shuffle. Now, these player aids are fantastic. You need these to play. Everybody needs to get one of these. It's really, really great. And then you're going to have a scoring sheet that you'll have in here, which is fantastic, and everything fits in really, really nice. Here's the rule book. You can see this kind of spreads out. This is really how you play through here, and scoring. It's everything you need to know. The back will just explain all of the cards, which your player aid does also. You probably need 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes to read through the rules of how to play. It's very simple. You ever play a drafting game. But how everything scores is where things are going to get a little bit confusing. And then you're going to need to digest all this before you play. Otherwise, you're just making random moves. So the rules are good, but the game can be a little difficult for its intended audience, I believe. So the game's fairly simple to play. So you're going to play 2 rounds. You're going to have 10 cards. Everybody's going to draw 10 cards. What you're going to do is you're going to choose one of these cards and pass the rest on to somebody else. Then the cards will come back from your right side to you, and you'll have somebody else's cards. You'll choose another one and keep doing that until you've played all 10 cards. Then you'll do it all again in order to end. So when you play a card and you draft it, you're going to put it down. You're going to put a 5x4. So whenever you play a card, it has to be orthogonally adjacent to another card. And as the game progresses, you're going to be setting up, like I said, a 5x4 grid. Maybe you go like this a little bit. Maybe you go down here, etc. And by the end of the game, you're going to end up with a 5x4 that you will have here. So then you'll end up with a 5x4 grid at the end based on the drafting. Remember, you're going to start out with 10 cards in your hand. You're going to keep one, place it down, send the rest to your left, and the person to your right will be giving you more cards, and you'll play a card one at a time. And that's very easy to play. Now, where the game gets a little bit complicated is how you score. So foxes will score 3 points as long as not orthogonally adjacent to a bear or a wolf. So that would be 3 points. I was able to accomplish that. The eagle scores 2 points for each trout and rabbit within 2 spaces. So I don't have any points here because I don't have any trouts. But let's say this had been like this. Rabbit was within 2 spaces. I would have got a point. If this had been like this, 2 points for this one, 2 points for that one, I would have got 4 points. So that's kind of how that works. The trouts will score for each adjacent stream or dragonfly. So here's a stream is adjacent, so I get 2 points. That one is not because it's diagonal, and these dragonflies are not adjacent. So this trout right here would only get the 2 points for that. Now, the deer, they like to be alone. So you're going to get 2 points for each row and column that has a deer in it. So this one has 2, this one has 2, so I'm going to score 4 for that one, and there aren't any more deer. The bees, which are here, score for each adjacent meadow. Now, I don't have any meadows next to them, but let's say the bee had been up here. Then I would have scored for this meadow that would be adjacent to it right here with the bee, and this is adjacent. Now, the dragonfly is a little bit more confusing, so I'm going to set up a scenario here with the dragonflies. The dragonflies are going to score points multiplied by the number of streams next to it. So this is 1, and there's just 3 streams that are adjacent, so 1 times 3 would be 3 points. That's how much that would score. This dragonfly is not next to any stream, so it's not going to score any points. Now, the bear will score 2 points for every trout or bee next to it. Right now, it has none. But let's say the bear had been here. Then it would score for this being here. It's a bee, but there's no trouts. So that would have been 2 points. If it had been set up like this and you have a bee and a trout, then 2 points, 4 points for the bear. Now, the meadows are going to score, these are the meadows right here. They're going to score for being adjacent to each other. So let's say it had been like this. You're going to score points based on how many you have. So if you have 1, it's 0, but 2 is worth 3. If you have 3 meadows, it's becomes 6 points, and so on. So the more of these meadows you can get next to each other, the higher point scores you're going to have. Next will be the rabbit. So whenever you play a rabbit, they don't give you any points, but they allow you to move these around. You can switch 2 cards up. It could be the rabbit too, but the rabbit doesn't give you any points, but allows you to move cards around. So you can swap 2 cards anywhere on the board. So if you get yourself into a pickle, the rabbits can kind of get you out of that. Streams are very easy. The score, whoever has the most, the player with the most adjacent streams score 8 points, and the second most gets 5. So in this case, I would have a score of 3 because these are adjacent. This one is not adjacent to it. So if I had the most, I would score the 8 points. The wolves, you just want to have the most in your ecosystem. So 1, 2, 3. If I had the most, I would then score 12 points. Whoever has second would score 8, third would get 4, and so on. So you just want to have the most wolves. And that's kind of how it goes. So I know that probably seemed really complicated, all that scoring, because it is. And it doesn't make it any easier what you're doing in the game. But so the game is very simple. You're drafting a card and playing it down. You have to end up with a 5x4 or 4x5, I suppose. But the tricky part's going to be how all the scoring interacts. And sometimes you're like, you want a bear here to score this, but if it's near the fox, it doesn't score. There's a lot of little things going on. And it makes it interesting. But being able to digest this little part right here, and everybody's going to have one of these in front of them, will make the game easier to understand and to play. Who should buy this game? Anybody who's looking for a drafting game, this is a fine one. You like the nature motif. You like the scoring, the positional, about how you're drafting the cards. You got to play it down, and the relative expanse of each other. How far away are they, and how am I going to score this? And you like that little puzzle that you're putting together, this would be for you. I think it's a little too complicated for kids, especially with the scoring. Maybe with the older children, they'll be able to pick up on it a little bit easier, but not for the younger set at all. For me, it's going to be a Purge.